Lion King.
Oh, okay. We're starting it off.
The lion was a king, and you rah.
Perfect.
I mean, I guess it's been a while, so, our rhythm's a little bit off. Welcome to Samurai Reviews.
Hi.
Hey, what's up?
Konnichiwa, Mina-san.
We are your hosts. I'm Josh. We have Brett and Jonathan over here. It's been a while. We had some vacations here and there, and now we're back. We're getting on it, and we're going to review the newest movie that came out, The Lion King Remake. This review video is brought to you by Kazucam Production.
Sponsored by Public Supermarket. If you're looking for food, you know where to park it. Public Supermarket.
Moving on, you can always follow us on Instagram at
Samurai Review 0.
If you guys like what you see here, you can like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what we're doing. If you like it, if you don't.
So we're gonna go and do something.
Yeah, we're gonna samurai.
We're gonna.
What do we do? What do we do again? I know we samurai, but what else? Okay.
We're gonna go around and give our reviews of this movie.
Yes.
Yeah. We're reviewing movies. Yeah, so we're gonna give our rating, and then we're gonna give a short non-spoiler summary, which is kind of pointless because this movie's been out for over 2 decades now. So get on it. And then we're actually gonna try something a little different in the spoiler part, just because this movie's been out for so long, and odds are you know what happens. Especially since it's based off of Hamlet and ripped off of Kimba the White Lion. So there's so many other stories like this. But yes, we're gonna try something a little different later. All the timestamps will be in the bottom for you to click through if you want to jump to certain sections. And then we'll have a separate video with the IMDb reviews. Let's get started. Let's get ready to Simba.
I'll just throw in my rating. I give this movie an 8, the same 8 as I would give with the old original animation. Yes, I know it comes very shocking, but it was the exact same as the old animation. This the story kind of holds a little bit more of kind of like mass and weight from the original one. The original one did have a little bit some plot holes, didn't really connect with the characters, but this time they actually came around and had some characters actually connect with other characters. That's what made it really neat, especially as a filmmaker. They did a little bit improve upon the story. This Lion King, definitely the new one, is made for more of a mature audience. It's not for little kids. As an 8-year-old, when I enjoyed the old original one, this was really nice to kind of just feel like you've kind of it matured, like the Lion King matured with you, because I talk sense.
I talk much sense.
Yes.
They took away some of the childish whimsy scenes that were not really essential for the story in the first one, and I'll kind of give you more of examples in the spoilers part of it. They took that away and put a little bit more focus on the story and creating depth to it. And that's what I liked about it. The cinematography was exactly the same from the old original one. And music was performed better and was a more theatrical experience compared to the old original ones. Lines were delivered at 110% from all voice actors, separate from the old original movie. But compared together, I was kind of disappointed with some of the characters' voices, and I'll kind of touch upon that in the spoilers as well. Overall, this new Lion King movie kind of just brings a little bit more life on the screen compared to the old original one, where it's just drawings.
For the most part, I agree with Josh, but also for a good bit of that, I also disagree. I had a very different take on this movie. Most of it was little things that, set it a little lower for me. So the original Lion King to me is a 9. And then in the Aladdin review we did, I explained kind of if it's a remake, you're not going to get the same amount of points just because of that lack of originality. Naturally, it's going to be below a 9. But ultimately, with all the other things I saw as negative, it leaves this Lion King remake at about a 7. And I would say it's a higher 7. Like, it's close to 7.5. I think overall, looking at all, the negatives, I'm going to have to leave it at a 7. But some of those negatives here, like obviously the big one, originality, it's a remake. But that's my opinion on things. If you're remaking a movie, especially this one that was pretty much the same story as the old one, you're not going to get the credit that I gave the old one for creating such a unique story. So that obviously knocked it down a little bit, but that not enough to bring it to a 7. So what else did I see in it that made me feel it needed to go lower? Well, a couple of those things can be summed up in one word, and that's ambition. I felt like this movie lacked ambition. I feel like it lacked, the drive to go out and maybe test the limits of the previous Lion King. While remaining core to the story, that's important, and they did that very well. There are moments where, you really kind of see flickers of like something great in some of these voice actors, and you're like, if they just added kind of like an extra thing to this, it could have been way better. And again, I'll get into that in the spoilers as well. But so that's like almost like a half point for me, was that lack of ambition, that lack of wanting to try something new and testing the limits. The other thing that brought this down a little bit was the voice acting overall was great. I agree with you. There were some people that I liked. It was just like it just wasn't.
I don't know if it matched on a few things. Yeah.
But it wasn't, that's not enough to really bring it down for me. But the big thing for me in that area that we're talking about in terms of acting and stuff is the lack of emotion on the faces of these animals. And again, take that, with a grain of salt or whatever, because I know some people will say, well, they're supposed to be anatomically correct animals, like you're going for that realism factor. But then I would, respond with, they sing and dance. To me, it's weird where they decided to draw the line in this movie in terms of where they want things to be real and where they want things to be entertaining and fun and stuff. And I really think adding that emotion to the faces of the animals would have, maybe it's weird. Maybe they can release something and be like, look, this is what they look like with emotion. Can you see why we didn't do that? And then I'd be like, yeah, okay, that is weird. But to me, seeing the faces on the characters in Lion King in the original was really fun for me. And I enjoyed all the different kind of looks that they gave, all the little eyebrow raises. And the bigger things like Simba's face when, you see the stampede coming down the mountain and it kind of zooms in and his face just drops. That's a really cool moment that you don't really get in this because they're trying to be anatomically correct. And it's kind of instead you just see a lion kind of lower his head every now and then. And that's kind of how they convey emotion. But I just feel like it would have benefited from adding those facial elements.
I disagree. The reason why I disagree is I don't think it was necessary for them to show. Well, they had emotions in there, and I felt like it portrayed on the screen well enough to the old animated one.
And well enough is a 5.
What you're saying that it needs to be kind of it needs to stand out more. The emotion needs to kind of stand out more and kind of pop like it did in the animated one. But it's only done that in the animated one. It's because it's for younger kids, which don't understand emotions. And they have to read through human emotions. And that's why they have human faces in the drawings compared to the real, CGI where it has the animals kind of emotions. Because if you look at the cats and the lions and stuff, when Simba was a little kid, his ears would flicker, his ears goes down. You see you actually see the animal emotion rather than the human emotion. Yeah. It's more realistic. It's more lifelike than hand drawing.
Why you like it, then why stop there? Why not just not have them sing? That's what I'm saying. It's weird where they drew the line in this movie where I don't see why you say, okay, singing good, eyebrow raise, whoa, slow down, too much. Singing animals in Africa where they have a monarchy, like facial expression isn't too much of a stretch and would have benefited the movie and benefited the audience in terms of seeing the little subtleties in their emotion throughout their story. And it's one of those things where I think if you've seen the older one, you don't need that as much. But especially for people who are going into this without knowing anything about the old Lion King somehow, because they live under a rock or something, that is a big thing. And I think they're going to miss out on a lot of those things.
And for the kids seeing it now,
and
too.
Yeah, because I would I'd love to show these to my kids.
Right.
That's pretty much all the negatives that I had. And that's why I dropped it down to a 7. But the reason it's still at a 7 is obviously because the story is still there. It's still intact, and it is still the same great themes and messages from the original. And that's definitely worth something. Secondly, the music. And this is something that Disney does every single time in their remakes so far, is they make the music better. Especially in this one specifically. In Aladdin, you had the actual singing songs were better, and that was clear. But in this one, I thought the real standout was the
soundtrack.
The soundtrack, yeah,
the transition parts.
Yeah,
them flowing from like this one place, or even just like the attack when like the stampede, and then it was like
when I was in the theater when the stampede happened and the music that they had during that, I was like,
it was great.
This is
you could feel
insanely good.
Yeah.
And that's so like the music definitely stands out.
Hans Zimmerman.
Yeah, and he reprises his role,
really
and he does a great job. And like I said, the songs are better too. It's just not on the same level as like what Hans Zimmer did with his older songs. Definitely amped it up, and that's amazing. And then finally, I think the biggest plus from this movie, and probably the main reason to go see this, is for the visuals. The visual effects are incredible.
Scar was awesome,
and they are nominee worthy. The water in this is beautiful. Like
all the landscapes.
Yeah, it's
all of it.
That's kind of my review. That's why I'm sitting at a 7, but like a higher 7. But yeah, those was kind of things I thought it missed, things that I thought it bettered.
And you had a question coming out of the theater as if it was like worth watching in theaters, and you kind of had like, no, I can just watch it on the screen as the old animated one. I felt like it was worth watching in theaters because this new improved Lion King was made for the theaters rather than,
I would say, wait for like a discount day. I think it's leaning towards being worth seeing in the theaters.
I get it because it's like the same story, and you can just have the same story in front of your TV with you. But
I don't know if it's worth paying like $40.
Visually, it's worth seeing because it's more. This movie was made for a theatrical experience rather than the old animation one, which wasn't.
But that's why I'm saying it's close. It's the only thing that really, that's why I pointed out the visuals. Like I was like, that's the real thing that's going to draw you to the theater. And yeah, the sound is music. Definitely go see it in like the, the extra speaker ones and the IMAX or the XDs
whatever.
But yeah, so that's my really, really long take.
That's our long take.
Yeah. Jonathan.
What else do you have to say? This is why he has nothing to say usually, because we're just taking everything.
That is true. But I do side with Brett a little bit more on this one than Josh. I do give it a 7 as well. But visually, it's great. I'll start with what I liked about it. So it is amazing, the visuals. The CGI is honestly the main reason to go. Visuals and the music as well. The singing they have an awesome cast that nails their lines. That was really cool. It was fun to see that again. And I think they did a better job than the 94. So that's the best part. The things I didn't like about it, again, kind of going with what Brett said here, but I also didn't like that they didn't have as much, expressions. I like that they're more realistic.
No, just kidding.
But they just don't have, I don't know, it just doesn't feel the same as the old one. Like, I wanted to have a little bit more pop to it or emotion in it is, especially with the lions and the hyenas as well. But theirs is not important. But like I sometimes couldn't tell like which lion was who because they just looked all the same. Which again is how I do in real life. But with the facial expressions and the different faces they have in the original animated, you can like obviously tell who's who, and they color them different too. Like obviously Simba looks different than his dad did, but in this one they look identical.
That comes out to a Samurai review of 7.3 for The Lion King. I'm getting into a little bit of spoilers here. Spoilers! Spoilers!
Oh, spoilers!
Spoilers! Those poor people that have never had internet, have never seen Lion King, almost we're in for a treat.
Yeah. Good thing we have Brett here. Totally. Yeah, so some of the problem that kind of really stood out to me, but not like was a big deal, were the voice acting. Timon was not good. That's
Which
because
I would like to point out.
well, that's he was good, but the thing is that I'm very biased because I've already had an image for Timon and like his voice and how raspy his voice is and how he kind of just sang. But this one was just like, it was just magnificently just good.
It's played by Billy Eichner, who is a pretty good actor. Yeah. And honestly, for me in that circumstance, I agree. But it was also because like his voice was almost too good. Yeah, it was at times when Timon would sing, it was like, oh wow,
like that's a beautiful voice.
Yeah, right. Well done, Timon. But like in the old one, he's kind of like,
yeah, I can see what's happening.
It's written everywhere. Yeah. In all of this romantic atmosphere. Disasters in the air. Like, I want that. And that is totally a personal opinion. Yeah. That is not like...
I've also had problems with the hyenas. Their voices and personalities just did not match with their real life hyena look. In the animated one, it worked because like their look and their voices matched.
They were a lot more comical in the old one. One of them was very serious. The one voiced by Whoopi Goldberg in the old one is kind of like the leader and stuff, and in this one she's very like leader. Like she doesn't really joke at all. I don't think she jokes once in this one. It's very serious. Yeah, I didn't mind that. I just it just was one of those things where it was kind of like I like the old one better, I guess.
It wasn't a bad thing. It was a good
choice.
choice.
Take away from the story.
It was a good choice. I didn't hate it. Those were my problems. I know you had some problems.
This kind of goes to what the ambition thing I was talking about earlier was, the lack of it. Simba in this movie and in the old one obviously doesn't have a lot of singing parts. He doesn't sing half of any song. And I would have liked, I think would have been an excellent opportunity, especially since you cast Donald Glover in that role, to really like go for something. And because in Hakuna Matata, when it gets to the older Simba parts, Donald Glover's singing in that is my favorite singing in any of the songs. Like the way he kind of like, he adds his own little twist to the inflection on some of the lines. It's really cool and soulful, and I really liked it. And that really made me, and at the end they even say like, let's leave him wanting more. And I was like, no, that's the problem. But one of the things I had in mind is they add a scene in the movie where Nala sneaks out of Pride Rock to go find help before she runs into Simba. And I thought that was when they're going to do the Beyonce Spirit song that they added for this movie. And so she's kind of singing about, following her spirit and stuff as she's going to try and find help. And then I thought that could have been the first half of a song. And then later on when she meets Simba and she eventually is like, we need to go back. And Simba says no. And then Nala goes, and then Simba catches up to her at some point. When Simba's catching up to her, that would have been an excellent time to have Donald Glover finish up that song and have the last half of it. And it can kind of become a duet.
That would be cool.
And it would be kind of like a certain symmetry to the song and the stories of Nala and Simba, and how they're both, going to find help. They find help within each other. And that would have been a great way to really use both Beyonce and Donald Glover's singing abilities. And I would have really loved that. That would have probably knocked it back up to an 8 alone, honestly. Just because, I really was disappointed when Hakuna Matata ended, and I was like, well, that's the end of Donald Glover, I guess. And especially because in Can You Feel the Love Tonight, Beyonce's voice is just so powerful, you just can't hear Donald Glover that well. I think that would have been a great addition to this movie and a really good swing at something new. One good thing is Scar's backstory in this. They don't add too much, but they do definitely shed some light on his past, and it kind of helps you understand where he's coming from. Obviously, he has a brother issue, and it's because, his brother's always been bigger and stronger than him, and actually they kind of imply that Mufasa gave him the scar because he stood up to him once, and he's like, I'll never do that again, and kind of shows the scar. That they add this thing where he liked Sarabi, Simba's mom. How basically Sarabi had to choose between Scar and Mufasa and picked Mufasa because James Earl Jones is daddy. And so he kind of brings that up to her at some point after Mufasa dies and is like, you could have chose and you chose the wrong one. Now you can choose the real king kind of thing. Kind of saw the tragedy of his days before what you're seeing. And that was a good addition to the film.
The staff being missing
Yeah.
was weird.
Yeah, so Rafiki's staff.
Like
It just pulls up just out of nowhere, out of the blue.
he's just like, oh, I have it, guys.
Yeah.
You thought I forgot.
Right.
And I had just gotten to the point where I accepted he didn't have a stick.
He didn't have a stick.
Yeah, and I was like, all right,
Just
whatever.
pulls a
And
stick
even
out
though
of
I'm like,
nowhere.
so the whole movie, he goes on without his
His
famous
staff.
stick. And it kind of caught me off at first, but then I was like, you know what? It's just a stick. It doesn't matter. The stick isn't Rafiki's character. Isn't why I love Rafiki, because he is my favorite character in Lion King. I accepted it. I was like, okay, stick's not in it. They're trying to make it more like he's a monkey.
Yeah, why would
Monkey?
a monkey carry
Yeah,
around a
sorry,
stick,
yeah.
I was like,
right?
cool.
Or a staff and walk around with?
And so I had accepted it, and then you get to the end of the movie right before the big battle, and he pulls it out of his tree closet, and I'm like, wait a second,
He had it
you
the
had
whole
it the whole
time.
you were planning on bringing it in anyways. Just give him the stick. What is that reveal for? To disappoint me and then make me accept my disappointment and then have to reject my acceptance of my disappointment? That was just such a douchey thing to do. Because now I'm like, so then now I am disappointed that he didn't have it the whole time.
Yeah, there's just no reason for it.
It was just weird. And one more unnecessary thing that they could have, trimmed maybe. As beautiful as it was of a shot, the mouse at the beginning, the establishing shot that they have is they're following around this mouse through
The cave.
they do the cave.
It's just the
eventually, but-
landscape kind of around
Around Pride Rock.
around Pride Rock, and then the mouse goes into the cave where Scar's at.
And it takes a while.
It takes a bit.
And it was kind of I wanted
Trim it up.
to zoom out even. I was like, okay, I've seen that blade of grass. I want to see all the blades of grass. But yeah, I mean, they definitely had some weird things that they chose to do. Definitely missed some opportunities, I think. Another thing, back to the song edition that I think would have been great is, in Aladdin, they add that kind of Bollywood type feel to all their songs, and it really aids it. And in this one, you didn't really have to do that because you have a lot of African sounding roots to your songs already, so that's great. But as they added that kind of hip hop to its songs, it would have been nice to have them add that Childish Gambino song or something like
more
that.
of this,
and that's
the
kinda weird.
soul type thing
Yeah.
that he can bring to
He
the thing.
is such a good voice. His
Honestly, underrated
He has
singer.
yes,
I don't think he was really involved too much with the producing or actually making the soundtrack of it.
yeah.
I wish they would have involved him a little bit more. Just
They had Beyonce.
well,
Why'd they pick Pharrell? They had the Queen.
but that's what I'm saying. They didn't involve them, and I wish they would have
Like
they
how they did
like
with
they
Will
did
Smith?
with Will Smith.
That would've
And
been
that's
great,
why the songs in Aladdin was 10 times better.
Yeah,
than-
these were better,
than the
but
other ones.
Aladdin had a bigger jump.
yeah.
And quality. Except I will say Hans Zimmer's soundtrack elements were
Oh yeah, the score.
That was
amazing.
insane.
You can't touch that.
One good thing that I did like is that they did amp up the fight scene between Simba and Scar in the end. I thought it was more intense and thrilling than the animated one,
Yeah,
because the
there's a lot
animated
more
one
moving
was
parts.
was very quick, and it was just I defeated you, Scar, kind of thing, and he falls down in the fire. But this time it was just there was twirling around. They were
I'll
spinning
see
on the
fire.
ground, an actual
really holding fire.
a cat lion fight. It was awesome.
I'm upset that Pumbaa didn't say, "It's Mr. Pig." Instead, he was like, "Oh, I hate bullies," and I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, so that's the thing too is they had that Timon and Pumbaa. You know how they get into the hulas and they distract the hyenas and stuff.
Oh, actually, like
it was great in the animated ones, but they do something different this time around. And I thought it was
Billy
actually
Eichner's voice.
yeah.
So this made me feel like, oh, this is a good portrayal of Timon here.
No, but they even though they took away something fun in the old, they still made it.
Yeah, that's that kind of
A good
ambition
one.
that I saw, and I was like, why don't you just do that for other stuff?
They kind of have like a little cameo of the Beauty and the Beast, be our guest in the beginning.
Serving Pumbaa
He's
basically
serving
to the...
Be
our
okay.
guest. Yeah, and then
And
run.
like runs away.
And that's a nice, because it caught me off guard, and I also liked it at the same time. So I was like, oh, that's...
Disney, yeah.
Good job. Yeah, good one.
So-
You got me.
Something that was neutral, because there's a lot of neutral stuff in this movie. The animation, like I said, the animation kind of matured over time, so it made sense that they kind of took away like the old scenes that were meant for kids, like I said, with Timon and Pumbaa dancing in their hulas, and kind of made it more of like a cameo of like the Beauty and the Beast one. They took away Rafiki's like dancing banana song.
A squash banana. Dude, I want that though.
Like as little kids, like we
motto.
love that, right? Because you know it was.
As little kids, that's my shit.
But that's the thing is like I feel like I matured
Anything you cut in terms of
in
Rafiki,
a
I
filming
don't like.
as reviewing in films. Like as little kids, we can accept that in a way a lot easier than now as like when we're older and we're reviewing things
so
in a different way.
To your point, what you're making, like I like taking away Asante Sana squash banana. Okay, wasn't that big a deal. They did have him dancing in the tree. He just said like actual Swahili instead of just like stupid English gibberish. Yeah. So I actually did notice that, and I was like, okay, that's like it's not what I want, but it is better. I did feel like Rafiki was a little watered down, and I don't mean that like I didn't like Rafiki in this. Like I did like Rafiki in this, and I think the voice actor did great, and all that. I just felt like they kind of like I feel like most of the scenes they cut were Rafiki involved, and I take it personally. It's a personal attack on me.
Yeah.
I really wanted that it's in the past
crazy-
scene. I mean, that's
a
like
good
the
thing.
specific scene that made me like Rafiki so much.
So-
and then when he's meditating,
In the old original one, Rafiki slams the stick on Simba's
Simba's
like
head.
top of head, and he's like,
like,
it's
"Why'd
in
you
the
do that?"
past. Or, you know.
he says, "Why did you do that?" And he's like, "It doesn't matter. It's in the past." And then he's like, "Yeah, but it still hurts." And he's like, "Yes, the past can hurt, but but can you learn from it?" And then he tries to hit him again, and Simba ducks. And then he's like, "See?" And then Simba kind of is like, "Oh, I gotta learn from my past."
They did take away the craziness of Rafiki and kind
They
of
did
made
tone it
him
down.
a little bit of a wiser, older,
Yeah,
character.
Still had the whimsy
Still had that
you love.
impact and that kind of stuff, which I like, but it was neutral. It wasn't really
Yeah.
necessary to put in that craziness,
Yeah.
but I would have loved to see it.
I thought he was going to be even more serious, honestly.
I was worried. I
Yeah.
was going into the theater and I told you I was like, they're gonna ruin Rafiki. They didn't, but they still
They're
left
still,
me
yeah.
wanting with Rafiki. But
They definitely played it safe
yeah.
in this movie.
That's a good, yeah, they did.
They played it real safe.
Again, like you said, it's a lot of little things, and that make it worse or better, and it just depends on how much you quantify.
Yeah, it
Which
was
one?
completely opposite of like Aladdin, where they actually did something
Yeah, it was
big.
bigger things,
It was
bigger
like
chunks.
bigger jumps and stuff, and like we said, those big things can make it or ruin it, and that's
Mhm.
why it was 50-50. And this were more just a smaller thing, so it wasn't as like
Yeah,
of
playing
a
it safe, like you
bigger
said.
impact
Yeah.
and stuff. But yeah, hope you guys liked this review video, and hope you guys liked our rant about it. Thanks for tuning in.
Like,
we-
comment, and subscribe.
We are the Samurai Reviews. Like we say, you can follow us on our social media, Instagram, Samurai Reviews 0.
Nada.
And
It's the circle of life. And don't forget, Asante Sana, squash banana.
and that's our review for Lion King. We want you guys to comment, hit that like button, share. We appreciate you for tuning in our review, and we hope you enjoy and have a good rest of your day. Deuce.
I am a baboon. You are not. No, it's you are a baboon. I am not. What a wise man.
Perfect.